Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing Kid A by Radiohead, the second album that made it on by Radiohead that made it onto my list. This is, in my opinion, their best album. Though a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's because they have just such a so many great albums. It's hard to choose. But this album uh, was a complete game changer for their sound, where previously they were mostly like a Britpop, like rock sort of sounding band, even though they were a little bit beyond that with some of their best albums. Here they go full electronica, which was something that had never really been done before. This amount of stylistic change for a band as already well established as Radiohead had never happened before. There was no Kid A before Kid A, I guess is what you could say. But everything on here, it's rather than focusing on uh, catchy songwriting, it's more focused on the tones of everything. And the tones on here are really, really great. Especially starting out with the opener, Everything in Its Right Place, which has these really great electric pianos that kick it off. And they continue throughout the rest of the song with Tom York's vocals on here sort of glitching back and forth, up and down in the mix, left and right ear, panning, and everything. Is just a great song. Following that, the song Kid A, the title track, is a lot more like traditionally electronic. I'd say it's a bit more detailed. Uh, Not to say that Everything in Its Right Place wasn't, but it's a lot. Everything in Its Right Place was a lot more simple. This one has more drum beats. The vocals on here sound really robotic. The way the vocal effects that are put on and everything, and it's like there's sort of this lullaby tone that comes in on your right ear throughout. That is always pretty cool. And towards the end of the song, you get this sort of swell, like synthesizer swell in your ears that just it happens a couple of times and it sounds really great. It's one of the few sort of warm parts of this mostly super icy album. Following that is the national anthem, and on here, rather than robotic, the vocals are a lot more like metallic sounding. They sound like they're being sung through like a metal pipe, except without like any of the reverb. It's more like being sung by a metal pipe, I guess. It's got all these like scrapes in it. This really great repeating bass line all throughout, and about halfway through as well, there's this sort of sax mini solo comes in and it just plays two notes. I believe they're like an octave apart, and it really adds to it. And then eventually you get all these horns coming in until like the end of the song, where they're all playing and like they're all sort of off, so it just like floods you with all this noise. It's really great. Following that is a much more calmer song, "How to Disappear Completely," which focuses. It has these nice acoustic guitars, or at least they sound acoustic. They're strummed. Pan to your left ear. That sound really great, and this sort of descending. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it really sets the tone. It's honestly quite a sad song, with all these hanging string lines uh, deep in the mix that sound great. And then Tree Fingers, the tones on Tree Fingers, it's more of like an interlude. There's no vocals on it whatsoever. It's a lot more ambient. It almost sounds like something that you'd hear tone wise on like a Minecraft soundtrack song. But that's as far as the comparisons go because uh, it's a lot more. It's a lot less rhythmic. Not to say that Minecraft soundtrack music is particularly rhythmic, but on here it's almost completely abstract with just these long, uh, long tones all over it, and sort of these sort of sounds of like crystals glimmering uh, in your all across the track. It's really a great interlude. And then after that is one of my favorites on this album, Optimistic. The guitar line on here is really, really well written. I like it a lot. And sort of the chorus vocals as well are extremely good. Speaking of the vocals, what they do that's really interesting on here lyrically is that they're basic, like the lyrics don't tell a story at all. They're pretty much just random. Like they might say something about something, but for the most part, they're just extremely metaphorical in their delivery. And I think the way again Tom York delivers them, it matches it perfectly. They don't sound like how emotional they are is for the most part left up to interpretation. Although on some songs where it's important, such as "How to Disappear Completely," they are very sad, and Tom York can sing sadly very well with his nasally falsettos that are all throughout this album. But as Optimistic comes to an end, you get these nice, almost like driving jazz drum outro that transitions very nicely into In Limbo, which it's sort of, it definitely feels like it's in limbo with this really off kilter time signature on the guitars. And these like the drums and guitars don't line up at all, but it somehow still sounds incredibly great until the very end of the song, where it all feels like it's getting sucked up by these sampled vocals. And that leads us into Idiotech, is I believe how you pronounce it, which has this really nice, almost industrial sounding dance beat to it, which was interesting to hear. And it has this metallic like chord progression to it where it's just one tone. So I wouldn't even call it a tone. It's just a chord. It's just one tone that plays over it that sets the chords and the notes that are played. But this is really a great demonstration of the lyrics, where it's just like two lines that are connected and that's it. And then like other than that, they could be completely random. But leaving this track, you get this nice sort of screechy, ambient sort of thing underneath it, underneath the mix that eventually comes out once the dance beat is sort of stripped away, and then you get this new mostly snare focused beat that brings you into Morning Bell. which has sort of these odd chords on it that I really like. But after that track, Motion Picture Soundtrack has these incredibly great, I don't know what they are, but they're like organs, I guess, that are sort of the way they've been distorted makes them sort of sound like they're on like an old vinyl record. And every time this tone pops up on an album, I feel like the album's a 10, so maybe I'm sort of biased towards it, but it truly is a really great tone. And it's this perfect closer, especially as the track progresses and you get all these swirling arpeggios in your ears that really feel like a definitive closer. And then the following track, Untitled, is like this 30-second piece where it gradually sort of swells up, and then it crescendos, and then it dies. But not in like a particularly dramatic dying way, more in like this is the end of an album way. Truly a great album. Uh, Even though it came out in the year 2000, it's still one of the best albums of this millennium. Uh, Give it a listen. Just do it. Give it a listen. Easy, easy 10. Thanks for watching. That's about everything I have to say on the album. Goodbye.